Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. The Toronto Raptors lose to the Boston Celtics B squad. Should you be worried? Should you be panicking? Or should you chalk it up to it's preseason? You don't have most of your rotation, and this doesn't really matter. I don't know. I guess that depends on which side of the aisle you fall on. I personally am not panicked at all, but I got to tell you, at halftime, it was a little concerning how little this team seemed to compete. Here's what it was at halftime. I mean, if you missed this game, kudos to you. Congratulations. You know, you didn't spend your Thanksgiving evening watching this game. And to those of you who are wondering why my eyes are squinting, it's not because I'm crying over this game. It is because I have allergies. But at halftime, okay, so to end the game, the Toronto Raptors pretty much caught up 111, 115 on an absolutely generational run by a unit that included Brandon Carlson and Uber Shamshay. So hallelujah for those guys. But at the half, it was 69 to 37. Here's the stats at halftime. The Raptors are shooting 34.9% from the field, 1 for 9 from three, 6 for 9 from the free throw line, 16 to 31 rebound differential in the favor of the Celtics, 11 assists to 17. So not really what Darko ordered, and 8 turnovers to 6. Okay. Couple ways to look at how this game broke down. And if you're new around here, please hit like and subscribe on your way in. This is going to be a pretty succinct live. This is a call-in show, so definitely do call in. Absolutely. If you have something to say, if you got to overreact, underreact, if you got to speak the gospel of patience and virtue, I mean, whatever you want to do, it's your show. But I do want to say that this is a trap game, right? You find out that the Boston Celtics, blew out the Sixers by 50 last night. They're undefeated and they're resting all their key starters. They're resting Al Horford. Kristaps Porzingis is not there. Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown all out. Drew Holiday, Derek White. You're like, what are we going to be facing? And the minute I looked at Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser, I was like, oh boy, I hope the Raptors don't underestimate this team because the Celtics, I mean, I'm not gonna tell you their second unit is the best in the league, but they're NBA players. Lonnie Walker is an NBA player, and that's a hell of a lot more that I could say for some of the guys the Raptors played. It was a little uninspiring to see the overall sharpness from Scotty Barnes and Jakob Pertl. There were a lot of good sides of this game too, and we're gonna get into that with a little bit of film. And we're going to talk about the absolute dynamo and the brilliance that is Jamal Shead. Grady Dick really lit a spark in the second half. We can talk about that. I was very impressed with Jonathan Mogbo. We'll definitely talk about that. I think overall, the Raptors process has been fine. Okay. You can say Scotty Barnes hasn't looked like a franchise player. Yeah, I'll agree with you. He doesn't look like a franchise player right now. He looks worse than he did as a rookie. And if you're like, oh my God, what about all the hype, Rob? You were calling him a top 15 player 2 days ago. Am I off that? No, I'm not off that. This is preseason. He's been off for a week. He's a little rusty right now. It's preseason. No one's trying to go out and end their season in preseason. I mean, injuries can happen. He's a vet at this point. He's entering his fourth year. He's sure of himself. And, when he dialed it up in the second half, the team kind of followed suit. I think they got a lot better when he did that. That being said, as the leader, whether you want to put that tag on Darko Rajakovic or Scotty Barnes, one of the main things that you got to focus on prior to the game is that your team is ready to play. And I don't think this team was ready to play. I think they slept on their opponent. I think they got punched in the face really hard. They were slow to the basketball. They were slow to the basketball. They were slow to loose balls. They were sloppy with turnovers. Passes were short. Everything, like every closeout was crap. Like, this is not a team that played with force. And credit to the Celtics. They have a lot of guys on that second unit with a lot of pride. I'm a huge Peyton Pritchard fan. I think he's like one of the 2 to 3 best backup point guards in the league. And if you want me right now, without being disrespectful, if you want me to draw a gap between Davion Mitchell and Peyton Pritchard right now as point guards, it's like bigger than my arms can stretch. Okay. It's a really big gap between those two players and Peyton Pritchard. You need somebody to table set, man. That lineup that the Raptors start the game with is so bad. It's just so bad. Take a look at how this game ended up shaking out by the end. It doesn't look so bad, right? I mean, you outshot them from the field because the Celtics went absolutely ice cold in the second half, partially because the Raptors absolutely stepped up their defense, and it was very good. The Celtics lived up to Joe Mazzulla's vision of taking 50 plus threes in this game. They went 18 for 53, so they lived up to his vision, but unfortunately, we don't have the personnel to shoot that well. you're going to shoot 34%, which is what they did. And they shot abysmally in the second half. The Raptors, on the other hand, really caught up. They shot 40%. And part of that was Jamison Battle at the end, but a lot of that was Grady Dick. Grady Dick goes 5 for 10, I believe, from three. That was good. The Raptors do get to the line a little bit more often. I think Jamal Shead was incredible on that front. They kind of closed that rebounding gap a little bit. They still got beat on the offensive glass. They get to 30 assists. That's Darko's number. They played Darko ball in the second half, and it really showed, and it was a lot better. I was very critical of Chris Boucher to the point where he clapped back on me at Twitter, to the point where some of his fans were coming at me a little bit as well. I got to say, I don't have any real issues with how Chris Boucher played in this game. I think his attention to detail was much better. I love how he ran the floor. Overall, it was good. Let's take a look. Points in the paint. The Raptors win that battle too. So you win from three. You come back from 34 down to close the gap to 4. That means you closed a 30-point differential, right? Terrence Davis said, "I'm overreacting. I don't care about to crash out." You do that. You do that, bro. Like that's your prerogative. You wanna do that. That's cool. I mean, I guess that's part of being a fan. You're allowed to freak out. Let's take a look at the box score. We'll take a look at the film as well, and I'll give you my sort of overall view on this. Scotty Barnes with 10 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, another 4 turnovers. Jakob Poeltl with 3 turnovers. I thought Yak's turnovers were like very, very sloppy turnovers. I think one of Scotty's turnovers was really sloppy. Just overall very loose with the basketball, but Jakob was a demon on the glass. 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 14 points for him. Davion Mitchell, 2 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. If you continue to start this guy, I'm gonna start a riot. Like I'm not kidding, okay? His defense in the second half was great. It was very good, okay? It was very good. He does not know how to set an offense. It's really bad, and I'll show you a couple clips of some of the incredible stuff that Jamal Shead did during this game. To me, it's leaps and bounds between these two players. I'm not saying either one of them are on Peyton Pritchard's level, but for a 22-year-old rookie guard who really can't shoot that well right now, for Jamal Shead to be this much further ahead than a guy who was a former lottery pick and a fourth-year player, like, it's very clear to me whose development needs to be prioritized here. I don't give a shit about the asset. I really don't give a fuck. Okay? Like, uh, Kobe saying Abaji is ass. I don't think he's ass at all. I think you have to ask yourself, is he a starter? No. Is he going to be a starter for you? Hell no. So, for what you want from him, I think apart from the lack of scoring, I like some of his play tonight. I liked his defense, and I really liked his passing tonight. He found Grady Dick relentlessly. He had 5 assists tonight, and that was very encouraging. Grady with 18 points to lead the Raptors. He shot 6 for 18, missed a couple bunnies at the rim. Maybe, you ask yourself, hey, should he finish a little bit stronger? But 18 points is 18 points. And I like the fact that he took 18 shots. I love it. And from the bench, you had Chris Boucher with 9 points. So not quite, what he did last game, but 9 points, 2 rebounds in 22 minutes. I'm fine with it. It is what it is. Jonathan Mogbo was a beast off the bench. 8 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. He was your second best bench player, but your best bench player was Mr. Jamal Shead. 14 points, 5 assists on 4 for 9 shooting, 1 for 3, and he got to the line 6 times. I love Jamal Shead, man. I got to tell you, like, I watched a lot of Kyle Lowry, Villanova, Houston, Memphis. I was just a big fan. The analytics loved him. Analytics always loved him. I loved him. I used to call him the little engine that will. I think it's like the little engine that will, instead of the little engine that could, it's like the little engine that will. This is like that feistiness, that attack, and to me, the game sort of changed when Jamal Shead came onto the court. Like you felt it a little bit, like there was a momentum shift, there was a seriousness shift. It didn't stop the Raptors from going down 22-44, but overall, I felt the team was way more organized with him on the court, and he was -4 versus Davion Mitchell, who was -11. Obviously, this team really closed the gap in the final 2-3 minutes when the Celtics were absolutely playing ass players, and credit to the Raptors for doing that. But overall, you're really seeing what this team looks like without 4 or 5 of your 7 or 8 best players. And I'm not gassing that up. 4 of your 7 best players are out right now. You're not a very good team. You're not supposed to beat anybody. You are not supposed to beat anyone. And you could say it's supposed to be, Scotty Barnes, blah, blah, blah. He didn't have it right now. Like, he's missing everything. He's missing free throws. He's missing bunnies. He's missing everything at the rim. He went 0 for 3 at the line. It happens. It's just touch. I've seen Jason Tatum go through these stretches. I've seen Luka and Doncic go through these stretches, but somehow when it happens to Scotty, it's like the end of the world. When he wanted to get into a shot, there were a couple of really nice moves that he had. So let's take a look at someone saying Mogbo is him. Mogbo is awesome. Like, I really liked him. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the game tape. I pulled some of this up, and then we'll take your call-ins if there are call-ins, and let's take a look at it. Okay, so this one play, this was a transition play with Scotty coming down. He had Mogbo coming down the middle. Beautiful pass. Catches Mogbo right. And then boom, dunk. Love that play. Now, here's a lot more Jamal Shead running the offense. And I loved it. Okay. So here goes Jamal Shead. Trying not to get a copyright strike. So he catches his defender sort of napping and he turns on the Jets a little bit, right? So he takes that and boom, just as his defender is trying to switch because he goes right, left, fakes middle, goes left, right? He beats his defender and he clearly sees Yak, right? He clearly sees Yak. And good on Jonathan Mogbo for clearing out here and trying to get his man out of the way. But that beautiful dish to Jakob Pertl, perfect pass. He's going to do this again. He's going to do something very similar with, who was it? Bruno Fernando later in the game. Unfortunately, Bruno Fernando is not going to catch on to it. He's just going to miss the pass. And unfortunately, he's going to get a turnover for it. But okay, here's another Jamal Shead brilliant play. Once again, attacking early, right? Once again, Jonathan Mogbo in the dunker spot, trying to clear out, right? And right here, once that option is taken away, boom. Another pass, another assist, perfect setup. Okay, this is more Jamal Shead. Let's go. Run with him because he's going to run. He has Scotty on his left side. Now, perfect. Missed the first one, sees the second one. Keita is not looking. Ochai streaking down. This is what he should do. Keep cutting down middle, and boom, gets him to the line, creates something out of nothing. This is Davion Mitchell running a fast break. Now, this is elementary shit. Okay, if there's a high school point guard who doesn't make this pass properly, they get benched. Okay, you should not mess this up. This is a 2-on-1 fast break with 88 trailing, right? So this is Davion Mitchell, and I mean, you make your own assertions on how accurate or correct this pass was, but he throws this pass behind Chris Boucher. You don't do that. Now, this pass was not disrupted in any significant way. This is just a bad pass. Take a look at it again. I mean, nobody bothered this. Nobody tipped this. This is of his own volition. This is hand-eye coordination 101. Luka doesn't make this mistake. There's really not any great point guard who would make any NBA point guard would make this pass in their sleep. But unfortunately, this is what happens. As long as Chris Boucher he's basically under the basket. The pass is low and the pass is back. So unfortunately, that's a blown opportunity. Now, here's a little bit more Jamal Shead. I really like this play. Let's go. Another one where he just wait, is this the same one again? My bad. This is the same one again. Okay. Let's go next play. Another Jamal Shead. You can tell I was really, really honing in on him this game. Okay. Once again, that burst beats his man downhill. And tell me where you think this pass is going. Based on the floor right now, you know damn well right now, based on how the defense is going, if 41 comes up, he's sending this pass to Grady. If 41 closes the gap, he's pushing this pass back to Bruno Fernando. And if 41 cheats away, he's going for a layup. Like, Jamal Shead is awesome because he doesn't make up his mind before he makes the move. And I love that about him. But as you will see, 41 does close the gap. And the obvious pass is Bruno Fernando. And you know that. I know that. Literally everybody in the world can see that right now, but Bruno Fernando does not know that. Bruno Fernando, like, what the fuck? Okay. I mean, this is when the Raptors were trying to close the gap. Obviously, the third quarter, the Raptors played much better. They actually won the third quarter, won the fourth quarter. So if you want, put that in your pipe and smoke it as hopeful. But unfortunate. Okay, more Jamal Shed. Okay, this is he hounded this dude up the court the whole way through. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Okay, and watch this. This is, games kind of in the balance. The fourth quarter, 15-point game. Raptors are trying to chip away. And again, your point guard sets the tone. Okay. So cuts him off. Beautiful defense. Pesky defense without fouling. Dude is freaking picking up his dribble. He's so bothered because he's trying to go through him because he sees a small guy, but he's not getting through him at all. And boom. Okay, now watch this. Beautiful. This is floor balance. Jamal Shead is not sprinting down. Jonathan Mogbo playing point forward. Beautiful. Sight. It's a sight to behold. And watch this. Mogbo is going to do what you're supposed to do as a ball handler. You're supposed to drive middle. And then he screens 20. Jamal Shead is not creating any heart attacks on the perimeter. People know he's not a shooter. But what I appreciate about him is he takes this with confidence and he hits it. Kyle Lowry couldn't shoot for a very long time. So overall, those are some of my takeaways from this game. I really liked, just to give you a brief overview of how I felt about each player, and then we'll get to Retro Jasper. And anybody else who wants to call in, please call in. Link is in the description. If you would like to call in, let me see if I can post it here. Yeah, I'm gonna post the link in the chat. So if you want to call in, you can call in. We can have a quick conversation about it. How do I feel about these players? All right, let's see. Overall, Scotty Barnes, rusty. He's rusty. I've watched him play all summer. He looks great. His moves are smooth, but he's just a little sluggish right now. He's a little bit high with his dribble. The shot is just a little bit off. The touch, the coordination, all of it, and he's gassed. Are you watching this? He's gassed to hell. Like, he's just out of shape right now. Like, it's not in game shape. There's a difference between practice shape, NBA off-season shape, and then game shape. You need rhythm to get into game shape. And obviously missing training camp, missing the first, week of training camp, that set him behind a little bit. I expect Scotty, by the time the season rolls around, to be fine. What would you rather? Scotty comes out and puts 30 points on the Celtics, G League squad, and then he sucks in the regular season or gets himself injured. Like, you got to know your body as an NBA player. You absolutely do. If you can't rev up, like, every good player, oh, I want to say every good player, a lot of good players take it slow in the preseason. A lot of them. Okay. Nobody's trying to go out, 100% balls to the wall. But I appreciate some of the handles, some of the things that he's trying, some of the mid range stuff. His shot looks different. And honestly, right now, he's aiming the free throw shot. His legs are dead. So, again, you see it on defense. He's holding his knees, he's holding his hips, he's breathing, he's trying to catch his breath. It happens. If you've ever understood pro sports on this level, like, it takes a while to kind of get into game shape, right? Karen Hall saying with a newborn at home, Scotty probably isn't getting enough sleep. That's probably it too. He's going through a lot right now, but nevertheless, he is going to be more than fine. What I am most encouraged about is Grady Dick, Ochai Abaji really showing some stuff here. Now, are they showing, oh, they should be starters in the NBA stuff? No, but they're showing that they're NBA players, and that's a lot to be said, because there were times last season where Grady was struggling against G League talent. He really was. He looked really bad against some G League players, and I'll say this: he hasn't looked bad. Okay, I was listening to somebody say the other day that they don't think he's a really good shooter. He was shot 5 for 10 from three tonight. You know, so overall, I think that was encouraging. Jakob just a little loose with the basketball. I didn't like some of his rotations. I think some of the box outs were a little bit sloppy, and Yak and Scotty are weird players because, again, they benefit greatly from having good players around them. They play very well with others. They play very well off of others. They're great screeners. There's just no space right now. You're starting Davion Mitchell, Ochai Abaji together with Jakob Pertl. It's like you're putting you're putting a lot of pressure on Grady and Scotty to basically be forced to go 2-on-1 on every single possession, and the help is just coming in all these angles. And the guy that you could potentially pass to is not RJ Barrett, it's not Immanuel Quickley, it's not Kelly Olynyk. And there's such a talent gap between guys like that, guys like Bruce Brown. Even a guy like Jacoby Walter would be so helpful right now, just because unlike some of the other guys you're playing, that guy's a sniper. He can actually shoot. So I think that's something. Chris Boucher, no real words on it. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. I don't think he has a huge future with this team. That's just my opinion. You can fight me on it. That's perfectly fine. I don't think he reads the game well enough. I wish that he did. I wish that he could participate in a 10 to 12 minute role off the bench where he could just come in, hustle, run the floor, shoot some open threes. But that's not his game. There's always going to be mistakes. Those mistakes are going to be costly. They're going to be momentum swingers. There's going to be turnovers. There's going to be missed assignments. I liked his attention to detail much more tonight than I did the previous game. Jonathan Mogbo, consider me very impressed. And I've been high on him since pre-draft, and I remain very high on him right now. There was one ugly possession where he went up, and it almost like he went up, and I never seen anyone get blocked like that in my life. Like, he's been blocked or airballed a lot. Like, he's been not close on a lot of his offensive possessions, very much. He's gonna have to figure out how to shoot, or he's going to have to figure out how to carve out some space to get his shot off. He doesn't have any space right now. He's going through defenders and they're just blocking it because he's not big. You understand? Like, he's not 7 feet tall, where that might not matter. Like with I mean, we're watching it with Brandon Croston. He's a 25-year-old rookie, and he's going to get blocked as well. We're watching it with Grady. It's the same thing. Grady, Jamal Shead, Davion Mitchell, Ochai Agbaji, none of them are getting clean separation on their finishes. You know what I mean? And I think even sometimes Scotty struggles with it a little bit. So this is a talent. This is a talent that guys like RJ Barrett just have figured out, like how to get clean separation on the finish. So they're gonna have to figure that out. But overall, I love Jonathan Mobo's game. Like, he looks like a real NBA defender. You feel me? Like, I understand he's playing against the G League squad, and maybe it would look very different if he was playing against Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, and I'm not expecting him to keep Jason Tatum in front of him, but I'm really encouraged about the idea of Jonathan Mobo being a permanent fixture in this rotation. Ditto for Jamal Shead. I have compared Jamal Shead more times to Kyle Lowry over this preseason and pretty much over the summer than I can count. I think I've pretty much hit about 12 times that I've said it. I keep seeing it. Everything he does reminds me of Kyle Lowry. The way he leads, the way he talks, the way he thinks, the way he's like a pit bull, the way he gets into the ball, the way he closes out, the way he tries to get charges, the way he tries to shift momentum, the way he reads and maps the floor, all of it, even down to the fact that he can't shoot right now. But when he can shoot, if he can shoot one day, when Jamal Shead can shoot, I mean, there are some issues with the jumper, but to be fair, he did have a near 80% or out 80% exactly season in college from the free throw line. That gives me some hope that maybe one day he can be like a 34 to 36% three-point shooter. I'm not expecting him to turn into a 40% marksman, but who knows, right? Kyle Lowry was not a good shooter. He was not a good shooter. Go check his Villanova splits. Go check, his adjustments to the NBA, three-point line. If you're not a great three-point shooter in college, you're not going to become a great three-point shooter in the NBA. The line goes out 3 feet. It's hard. The distance is hard. I'm just appreciating the fact that he takes them. Every single game he's taken them. Tonight he took 3. He made 1. Maybe next time he takes 5 and he makes 2. Progress. It's going to build and build and build. What I'm convinced of right now is that the Raptors hit on this rookie draft class. I am convinced. Like, this was considered a weak draft, whatever. I don't care. I'm happy with all 4 rookies. 100%. 100%. I'm thrilled with all 4 of them. I think they're building blocks to the future. At worst, all of them are going to be role players. At worst. Okay. They're all going to be very serviceable role players for a very long time. That's what I see in them. That's what their mental makeup tells me they're going to be. And I'm excited about that. In terms of how you lose to a team like this, there's a lot of reasons you could lose to a team like this, but one of them is you just didn't play with force. Overall, tonight, the Toronto Raptors did not play with force. They did not play with urgency. They did not play connected. They weren't connected defensively. There was a lot of silly mistakes from Scotty Barnes. There's a lot of silly mistakes from Jakob Poeltl. There's a lot of silly mistakes from Davion Mitchell, and those are killing you. Momentum wise, those kill you. When your leaders fuck up, when your leaders don't make mistakes like that, that's a death sentence on the road against a team that's really hungry. That's the part you got to understand. You know, these guys are playing on a team that is expected to win championships. You remember the bench squad, the Raptors bench squad? Now, if the Raptors had sat, and just imagine this, okay? Just think about this for a second. If the Toronto Raptors, let's say we build a time machine right now, right? Let's say the Toronto Raptors sat out Kyle Lowry, Kawhi Leonard, Marc Gasol, Pascal Siakam, and OG Anunoby. No, that's Danny Green. Let's say they sat those guys. Do you think this iteration of the Raptors could beat the guys who were left? Serge Ibaka, Norman Powell, OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet. You think they would have beat that team? You're insane. This team is fighting for something more. Jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, no. I don't care if you had Jason Tatum on your team tonight. You might have been a little bit better off because Scotty Barnes was not good tonight. But one player, very few one player can do anything against an entire team. Like, I don't think Scotty played well tonight. I'm gonna say I think his performance deserves like a solid C minus, C. Like I think there were some encouraging stretches in the in the second quarter and especially in the third quarter. He didn't play the fourth quarter. But I think he's found a rhythm at this point. Rhythm is important. These games don't count. So I think it's important to temper your expectations. I understand a lot of people are on eggshells right now. They're really like waiting for a sign that they should care about this team. And maybe Scotty Barnes exploding for 45 points against this hapless, Celtics team would have given you some hope. Maybe. Just like Cade Cunningham going off for a near triple double against the Phoenix Suns without Devin Booker might have given the Detroit Pistons some hope. But you got to think long term, man. You can't live and die on every single preseason game, or you're going to drive yourself crazy this season. Anyways, let's talk to Retro Jasper. Retro Jasper, what's going on, man?
What's up? This, obviously a bit of a mulligan after Friday. You were talking a lot about Jamal Shead, role players, all that. I've been considering, obviously it's a preseason game facing the other guys of the Celtics. I guess we'll call them that. I was thinking about it long and hard. Do you think that this season Jamal Shead has the potential to be called a role player? Because we were talking about this Friday after, the loss. Who's a role player and who's not? Top 250 or something like that. Do you think? I mean, because like if you look at guys like Keon Ellis, right after their first year, you could kind of call them a role player, a solid role player. Do you think that Jamal Shead could become like, kind of in that Keon Ellis role where by the end of his rookie season, he's already in that position to be top 250 for, role players and all
Well,
that?
Keon's 6'6", 6'5". So
Yeah.
I think that's worth saying. Jamal's always going to be undersized, and I really do liken him to Kyle, and I'm going to stick to that Kyle Lowry comparison because I just think that he does all that small stuff. I don't think Keon's much of a point guard. I would liken Keon more to a Jalen Suggs type of guy, right?
Yeah.
So, but if your question is, do I think Jamal Shead could become a top 250 player in the NBA? Like if he could enter that conversation as any team would love to have him as a backup guard, maybe not this season. But
Okay.
he's pushing it right there because he
Yeah.
does so many good things. And I'll also say this: I think Jonathan Mogbo is surprisingly good. Right? There's a
Yeah.
couple of players in the league that are like one skill away from it all clicking through. I think Jonathan Mogbo and I mean, I'll differentiate between two types of players. There's one type of player that is basically average at everything,
Yeah.
right? And that player is gonna look good in summer league. They're gonna look really good in summer league, but they don't have any specialist skill at all. Like they can't do anything above the 72nd percentile. Like their best skill is like still average, you know? Like
Yeah.
they can shoot, but they're not like marksmen. They can defend, but they're not stoppers. They can rebound, but they're not rebounders. So those guys typically have the toughest time carving out a role in the NBA and generally end up in the G League or overseas or whatever and become stars overseas, whatever, right?
Hmm.
When I look at guys like Jamal Shead and, you know, someone like Jonathan Mogbo, I think they already have a specialist skill. You know, with Mogbo, it would be his rebounding, and I think very soon his defense and his passing at that big spot. Like, if I had to rank out every single center slash power forward's ability to run the court as a transition ball handler and handle the decision making, he's already in like the 85th percentile among bigs in the NBA. There just aren't a lot of bigs who can do that, period.
Yeah.
So where he's lacking will be finishing talent, shooting, experience. But the vision is so clear that he's going to be a top 250 guy.
Yeah.
Like, he has the right body for it. He has the right mind for it. And, I watch guys like James Wiseman where all the physical gifts are aligned and all the athleticism is there, but the brain is not. And I'm like, I've been watching teams try to untap this brain for like 5 years. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
With Jonathan Mogbo, you don't have to teach him how to play basketball. You just have to teach him the angles and how to get a shot off. It's totally different. Same thing with Jamal Shead. Jamal Shead can think the game. Like, this guy's a hooper, like a straight hooper. Like, I understand basketball well enough to tell you Jamal Shead really understands the game at a very clinical, sort of like surgical level. Like, he understands angles. He understands how the defense is shifting based on what he's doing. He understands how to cut. He understands every angle of the game. And this is something that I saw with Fred VanVleet very early when he was in the G League. And this is something I really saw with Kyle Lowry very early. If you're an undersized guard, you better be like a student of the game, like a real, that type of like,
Yeah. Have it all together up there. Yeah.
absolutely, you have to be so intelligent to beat the physics of the sport, right? Because the physics of the sport is undefeated. If you're
Yeah.
undersized, you better have some sort of crazy advantage. And thinking the game is one of the most, bulletproof advantages to assuring success as a 6'1" guard. And of course, if you listen to Fred VanVleet, there's two things you got to do as an undersized guard. You got to be able to defend, you got to be able to shoot. So Jamal Shead's 1 for 2. Can't shoot right now.
Yeah.
So that's it. Once he can shoot, all those angles that he's currently exploiting are going to widen. All those, that first step that he's using to get, well, that first step is going to be that much easier because the defense is going to have to be that much closer. And I love that he's assertive. I have a lot of faith in these two. Obviously, Ulrich and Jacoby are like much longer term plays,
Yeah.
but I think they're fantastic young prospects. Like, I love those two guys. If those are the two guys as your 11th and 12th, and those are the type of guys you develop, like a Norman Powell, kind of coming up your system, or a Pascal Siakam, that's fantastic. You shouldn't have to count on those guys. And what do you think of Grady tonight?
I mean, there was a lot of things that I liked. There was a lot of things I didn't like. Obviously in terms of like shooting and all that, it was good. We've seen it before last season, especially near the end. The way he played tonight, very similar. I mean, I liked it. Definitely bounce back after Friday. that's all I could say to that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It was good.
I think
Very good.
if I know that RJ is out for the preseason. I know
Yeah.
Bruce Brown is pretty much out for the preseason. I don't know why they're not playing Kelly, but I guess they don't need to play Kelly. He had a busy summer with Team
Yeah.
Canada as well. So really, like, he and RJ were the sharpest guys in terms of just being in shape and being super in rhythm right now. And they're
Yeah.
both out of your lineup. And I think you're really paying the consequences for that. But I'll tell you, if Immanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes both play on Tuesday against the Celtics, I expect a much better effort. I also think it's just human nature to kind of downplay the competition when you don't see any of the regular names out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, any closing thoughts?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Baxter, what's going on? Hello?
Hello.
Hey, Baxter, what's going on?
1 second. I'm having trouble with my mic. Turn it on. Hello.
Yep.
I just have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
Regarding like rotation.
Mhm.
Just like as long as I've been a fan, the Raptors never been a team to have 8-man, 9-man rotations. We always had players like Norman, OG that needed the time to get better. How do you think
Mhm.
that Raptors should go about spreading minutes around?
Well, I think they're going to be 10. I think it's going to be a 10-man rotation. I also don't think you can start to extend it beyond 10 because, that gets a little bit crazy, but based on what they did last year, it was always 9 or 10, right? So in terms of who should play and who shouldn't, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I mean, the starters are pretty much set in stone at this point. It's going to be RJ, Scotty, Immanuel, Quickley, Grady Dick, and Jakob Pertl off the bench. Obviously, the clear cuts are Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk. And then Ochai Baji seems to be the logical eighth. I would go Jamal Shed at the ninth. I would. And for
yeah.
10, I would go Jonathan Mobo. I will put Shed and Mobo in the lineup right now. And honestly, I know that might piss off some people who are big fans of Davion Mitchell. I'm just not seeing it. What would you do?
Uh, personally, I like our bigs, like from like Shamshay, probably being our
Okay.
third string, and then Brandon. I don't know. I just try to like play with more length because we kind of have the speed and transition, but like
You would put
I
Shamshay
think defense.
into the rotation?
Yeah, just like kind of how they're playing now with like fourth quarter minutes, he would come in, but like instead of fourth
Mhm.
quarter, it'd be like second quarter. Uh,
Damn. I mean, here's the thing. With all three of your rookies, we can expect some rapid development, right? And I have already seen rapid development from all three of them so far. The ones who've played. Obviously, we cannot judge Jacoby Walter because he's not playing. But over Shamshay today, I really liked just his conciseness with his defense. He wasn't as jumpy. I don't think he picked up a single foul, if I'm not mistaken. Did he pick up a single foul? Zero fouls today. That's huge progress. He played 2 minutes with zero fouls, and he was plus 8 in those in those 2 minutes. I mean, I just think he sealed better. He had, he's still a little bit jumpy. Obviously, there's gonna be some moments with him for sure. The game is still very, very new for him. But yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to the end of the season when you're tanking, maybe getting Ulrich some minutes. But I think to start, you might not get what you want out of that. Like, I think he'll be much better off starting out in the G League. Maybe, if there's a blowout and he's, the 13th guy on your bench, then put him in at the end just to get him some reps, get him some feel, get him like a feeling of what's a foul, what's not a foul, how to run in transitions, get a feel for like NBA strength, NBA length, how to get his shot off, etc. This is a massive learning curve for a kid coming from the BAL. Huge, huge, huge,
yeah,
huge. So I'm for getting him some reps. I just don't want him to get reps of consequence right now because that's where you start to break confidence a little bit. Because if he starts coming into the game and the game's like a 5, 6 point game, and then he comes on the court for 2 minutes and it's like an 8 point loss, it's an 8 point deficit because the game switched on him so fast. I mean, he's just a big that you can exploit right now massively. Like he doesn't do enough for you. Like, you know what I was saying earlier about like these the like with Jonathan Mobo and Jamal Shed, where there's like something they can do at an elite level. Like,
yeah.
I'm not really sure what he can do at an elite level other than run the floor right now.
I think his thing is like high energy, and like teams not knowing what to do when they run into a 7 footer that can like just move his feet and want to
Well, I'll
stick
tell you what,
to
like, I would
empty
love
guards.
to see him with better players because he's played almost all his lineups with like really just terrible players. And I would love to see him maybe, and I know we probably won't see it because I know that coaches tend to go more into their rotation as preseason comes to a close. Like I expect against the Nets, we'll probably play a tighter rotation and just try to get ready for the game. And that's just how coaches usually do it. But I would have loved for Ulrich to get in the game in the second quarter at some point, just to see him with Scotty and maybe Jakob and maybe Jamal Shed. Like personally, I think these games have been starting off on such a bad foot because you don't really have anyone who can organize your offense right now. Like Scotty's just unwilling to do it, and he's letting Jamal Shed. Sorry, he's letting Davion Mitchell do it, and I don't think Davion's really that much of a point guard. So I guess my question for you would be, what have you seen from Jamal Shed and Davion Mitchell? Like, what do you like about each? What do you not like about each?
Uh, like last season, I was really like into how we were playing, and like
Mhm.
you mentioned that Dennis Schroeder being our point of attack stopper. I feel like Jamal Shed plays that role the best. Davion Mitchell came into the league thinking that that was going to be his role, but it's kind of like drifting towards he wants to be a jack of all trades, a shooter, passer, defender. But I think he should just lock down to one.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
But Jamal Shead definitely should take some of those
Yeah,
minutes.
I think it's about, when you're a point guard, it's all about how do you organize your teammates, right? Like you have the basketball, you gotta shift. You know what I mean? If your team is running like a little too fast, you got to slow them down. If your team isn't back on defense, you're the one who's got to yell at them and organize them. So I've always felt the point guard on the court, it has to be the guy who has the greatest depth of knowledge about where his teammates need to be and then set them up in positions to succeed. And I just love the quality of shots that Jamal Shead is creating right now for his team. Like that turnover notwithstanding for Bruno Fernando, like that was a clean dunk. And he found him for
Yeah.
another clean dunk streaking downhill, and he did that, I think, the previous game as well. So I just love how he is able to sort of ping pong his way into the paint, get a paint touch, and then find an open shooter, find an open cutter. I love that he keeps his head up. I love that he's not super turnover prone, and I love that he's a rookie and he's doing this. Rookie guards are almost never this poised. I mean, look at what Scoot Henderson's doing.
It's old school.
Like, I mean, dude, I think he might be better. He might be better equipped to handle NBA minutes right now than Scoot Henderson. I don't even think that's crazy to say. And yeah, I mean, I've just been so impressed with Jamal Shead. I cannot stop raving about this kid. I've been telling everyone I know in the NBA, like any person I know that covers any other team, I'm like, watch out for this kid, watch out for this kid. And yeah, I'm just very impressed. And I think the Raptors hit on this draft in a big way.
Coming into the league, I thought he was gonna be that combo guard because that's kind of like the role he played in Houston.
Mhm.
But he's just a hooper.
He is straight up a hooper. And I mean, I see some of that combo guard stuff, and that's okay too. He's not selfish. He's not me. He's always looking to set up his teammates. It's his shot selection is really good. So I'm very impressed with him. Anyways, any closing thoughts?
No, just I think this draft class was pretty good too because Washington's rookie core is pretty good. All like the rookie, like Zach Edey, for example, like all the rookies are really good.
Yeah, so far there's a lot that are standing out. Reed Shepard's looked great. Stephon Castle's looked great. I haven't had a chance to watch Modest Buzelis, but I have high hopes for him. Nikola Topic next year, and not to mention we have a couple guys who are out this year already, like Devin Carter and Deron Holmes, and they'll be back at some point. Kalel Ware, despite my early bearishness on him, he's looked really good too. So yeah, there's been a lot of talent so far. So yeah, this has been a surprisingly good draft class, and I think the Raptors hit on 4 picks. Like I'm again, I'm going to say it. I think all these guys are role players, and there's sometimes when you draft a guy and you're like, like Marquise Noel last year, I was just like, I don't think so. I know he's undrafted, but I don't see it. Yeah, and and this year I don't really see it with Brandon Carlson. I don't see a way in hell he's going to be an NBA player personally, but. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. All right, man. All right. Talk to you later.
All right.
See ya. All right. Okay. Like, I'll close this live off by saying this. Don't overreact to every single small thing. Win, loss, I did not care. Tonight, I mean, obviously, I predicted the Raptors are going to win. I went very boastfully on Twitter, and I'm getting roasted right now saying the Raptors are going to win and everyone's going to overreact. And what I was trying to do is get ahead of the fact that I didn't think the Celtics were going to play their starters. And I thought that Immanuel Quickley and Scotty Barnes were going to come back. If you wanted to win this game, I don't think it would have been that hard to try and win this game. Obviously, you could be discouraged by the fact that your starters actually played more minutes than their starters and you still lost. Or you can probably look and, if you really want to, you can look at who played for them and you can ask yourself, were they a team that you should be sleeping on? I watched a lot of JD Davidson in G League last year. He's pretty decent. Baylor Shireman went 0 for 6, but I have hopes for him as a rookie. Drew Peterson, he had 23 points off the bench. I know somebody who's pretty close to his camp, and they've been telling me to watch out for this kid for a long time. You got Walsh, you got Lonnie Walker, Peyton Pritchard, Namus Keita. And Keita was he's like a 6-year vet, 5-year vet, played for Sacramento. Sam Hauser was one of the better bench players in the league last year. So you can say, yeah, you should kill this team, blah, blah, blah. but really, I think it was pretty evenly matched. I mean, I really do. And again, that's me just speaking on how bad I think some of the players who play for the Raptors are. And specifically, when I say that, I do mean guys like Davion Mitchell. And I'm not even trying to roast the guy or whatever, but you just can't be playing 4-on-5 like this. Now, I'll say something positive about Davion. Obviously, I think the defense in the third quarter is very inspiring. I think he's just pesky. He's really pesky. Sets the tone. Great practice player. Probably a great person. Sounds like a great person. Just really nice. I don't think he's a backup guard in the league, man. A lot of talent in the NBA. A lot of talent in the G League. A lot of talent in Europe. He ain't it. He's not it. He's not it. Like I watch enough EuroLeague to tell you there's like 12 point guards in EuroLeague that are considerably better than him. It's not it. So, is he going to be it? Is he going to organize the defense? Is he going to figure that out? I don't know. But there's a natural feel to being a point guard. I don't think he's a point guard. So, if he's going to be a shooting guard in bloated offensive lineups, I could see that. But right now, he's being asked to create advantages. And that's partially because Scotty won't, partially because Grady can't, partially because Scotty's rusty. I don't know. But if you're asking him to play the role of Immanual Quickley, you can expect more performances like this. He's not that player. But if he is a 8-minute change of pace guard off the bench that you put on in case, someone's really torching you and you want to give him another look and you want to apply like a lot of relentless defensive pressure, that's fine. If you told me that Davion Mitchell was on the Celtics, I'd be like, great. They got an awesome third, fourth string guard. You know what I mean? And he can learn from that. That'd be great. That'd be great for him. But you're not getting anywhere with him as your backup if you're expecting him to play like 18 to 20 minutes. And I never know what Darko really thinks, because last year you really could have sold yourself on the idea that he like loved Malachi Flynn, and I was kind of losing my mind. And if y'all remember, like I was kind of like very firmly on record that I don't think Malachi Flynn was an NBA point guard, and there was another channel that came at me for it, and they were just like, Malachi's not a point guard. Come on, Malachi's great. Yeah, Malachi's great. Malachi's better, like just as an offensive creator. I mean, obviously as a defender, Davion dusts him, but Malachi Flynn's a better player offensively. Jeff Doughton's a much better player offensively. So again, offensively, you're playing with a zero here. And that's perfectly fine if your other four starters are overwhelmingly offensive players or overwhelmingly positive offensive players. But you're really going to struggle with any lineup that includes Grady plus Ochai plus Davion. Like that is a lineup you put out there to lose. You remember last year when we were seeing lineups where I think it was, who was it? Last year we saw a lineup with Jalen McDaniels, Scotty Barnes. I think it was Gary Trent Jr. And like, I can't remember who the hell the big was. It was just a really bad lineup. And those lineups lost so many minutes because you're asking Scotty to be like this high leverage creator, but his threat to score is not great enough for him to create for these non-scorers. So it's totally different equation when you put Scotty and RJ together, or Scotty and IQ, or just give him somebody who can score, right? Somebody who he can pass to in a situation where he can bump the advantage in the post and then find that guy streaking or find that guy wide open. So this is maybe forced growth. You're trying to force Grady into, captaining that big a load. I think you're going to have to take the baby steps route here. You really are. You're going to have to take these lumps. And I'll close off on, something that I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to somebody who covers the San Antonio Spurs, and they're pretty close to the team, and they're doing beat reporting around the team. And, it's like, how's Victor looking? Because I'm obviously very, very high on Victor Wembanyama. I'm deeply curious to understand like how the San Antonio Spurs are going to develop this young core. Really high on Stephon Castle. And he said, well, there's a couple of ways they can go with Victor Wembanyama, and they're taking the long road, right? And Victor is a really good player right now. And they're like, it's really easy to turn him into a very effective player right now. You just basically turn him into a lob target. You make him a roll cut big, right? You have him take open shots only. You take all ball handling responsibilities out. You never let him handle the ball in transition, and you'll have the defensive player of the year. But you're not trying to develop Jaren Jackson meets Tyson Chandler. You're trying to develop an MVP and the future greatest player of all time. And in order to do that, you're going to have to take lumps. So he's going to win you games on defense. And right now, because of his shooting and his underdeveloped offense, he's going to lose you games on offense. But because you have the bigger term vision in mind, you don't mind doing that because you're not an idiot. And that's the point. You'd have to be patient with this. Okay. Scotty Barnes is not the most natural 30% load offensive player. You're probably going to lose a lot of games because he handles 30% usage. But that's okay because the only way to get better is to do it and to go through it. Right. And I've said this many times that a lot of people don't get better because they're afraid to look bad. If you're going to take 15 threes and you shoot 1 for 15, people are going to make fun of you. I'm going to say, I'm proud of you for taking 15. That's a big step from taking 5. And that's how development has to be looked at. You have to trust the process. I hate to say it because it's like a buzzword and it's associated with this terrible losing franchise that was Sam Hinkie's Sixers. But honestly, that's what it is. If you're expecting to come here and crash out because the Raptors lost to, a depleted Celtics team, don't hold your breath. That's not going to happen. I know exactly what the Raptors are doing. I know exactly how they're going to do it. And I know that it's going to look really good at times and really bad at times. And that's the thing. You're going to have really high moments with Scotty, and you're going to have some really low moments with Scotty. You're going to have really high moments with Grady where he shoots 50% from 3 for like 2 months. And then you're going to have moments where he shoots 20% for another month. And, I think the important thing to realize is he didn't turn into Steph Curry when he's shooting 50%, and he shouldn't be out of the league when he shoots 20%. Learn to live in the middle. You'll live longer. You'll be fine. This will be fine. Good luck to the Raptors against the Boston Celtics, who will hopefully be back to full strength. I would love to see the full strength Celtics. I think some of you are probably like, oh my God, I hope they play. I hope they don't show up for that game. If we almost lost to the B team, that's not how basketball works. You're going to be much more competitive against Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You're going to put much more effort. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way. If there's one thing I would like to see improve, I would like to see the toughness, the offensive toughness, the rebounding, and the physicality improve. There needs to be a tone set. There needs to be a buck stops with me. And if I want to be critical of Scotty of one thing, I don't like his body language in this game. I just didn't. There's a couple times where he was just moaning and bitching and moaning for fouls, and his team's feeding off of that. So he's got to stop that. He's got to stop and cut that shit out. He's got to grow up a little bit and just realize that he's the leader now. You know what I mean? And if you didn't want this, shouldn't have been that good, but you are that good. And there's this quote from Joe Mazzulla where he's talking about how Jason Tatum has to face all this criticism that's unfair. And he says he gets to face it. He gets to face it. This is what he asked for. If Scotty Barnes wanted to be just another guy, then he should have crashed out in high school. He shouldn't have gone to Florida State and been as good as he was. He shouldn't have worked out as hard as he did. Shouldn't have worked as hard as he did. If he didn't want the role of being a franchise player and the city is looking at you to lead the way, then you shouldn't have been this good. You shouldn't have signed a max contract. You signed the max contract. Now you're the man. You're the man. So you got to be the man. And the man means you got to set the tone for your team, which means when you miss a shot, you get back. You don't pout and scream at the ref. And I hope and I trust that Darko Rajakovic is going to talk to him about that. And I hope that he will. Because, again, I trust that Scotty's going to be a top 10 player in this league for a very long time. I also believe that it's going to look sometimes like he's not. And sometimes it's going to look like he's the best player in the world. And you're just going to have to take those lumps as they come and, judge this team when the games count and they're at full strength, right? This is not a team that can withstand injuries. They're not a team that is full of depth. And right now, if you look at the list of top 20 available free agents, you'll notice that most of those guys, from the Markelle Fultz to, the Reggie Bullocks of the world to who else is available? Gosh, sniper, shooter, white guy, Doug McDermott, Dougie McBuckets. All of those guys would have scored 25 for you tonight. All of them. Markelle Fultz would have been your best guard tonight. Reggie Bullock would have been your best shooter tonight. I mean, Doug McDermott might have been your second option tonight. Like, you understand what I'm saying? The gap in talent between what an NBA player is and what the hell they're trying to do here. But what I find encouraging about all the Raptors prospects is they're all like one skill away. Like Ochai is like a corner 3 away from being a really serviceable role player. Once he figures out that shot, it's dynamite, right? And I'll trust developing a 3-point shot over trying to develop Precious Achua's basketball IQ, if that makes sense. Like Ochai flashed a lot of positive basketball IQ today. Grady's flashed a ton of basketball IQ. If you watch the film breakdown I did this weekend, I mean, there's so many good things this guy's doing without the basketball. So yeah, I mean, I'm not worried. The Raptors went 23 minutes and 40 seconds from the first three to the end of the first half. Think about that. You go 23 minutes and 40 seconds in an NBA game in 2024 without hitting a three-pointer. That's insane. So, Shadow Warrior saying Masai is washed. He is definitely not washed. Vincenzo was up for the DiVincenzo was up for the taking before NY signed him. Dante DiVincenzo was not coming to Toronto, bro. Steph Curry told him to go to New York. He was going to New York. It's not like it's not 2K, bro. Yeah. Rue's saying, I'm tired of watching dudes learn how to shoot. Well, if they knew how to shoot, you wouldn't have been able to get them. So it's a bit of a catch 22. Anyways, I'm off to Thanksgiving dinner. Did you believe I missed a Thanksgiving dinner with close friends for this bullshit? Crazy. But I'll appreciate the 200 plus of you who, stuck it through. Presumably, a lot of you watched the game. I hope you, enjoyed some of the young kids. And look, what Darko say, we're not going to skip steps. We're not going to skip steps. And I appreciate that. And did you see the Dante altercation with Rick Brunson? Nope, I did not. But I will definitely check it out on my way to the dinner party. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Have a good one. Thoughts on Ochai? Yeah, I think Ochai was great. I think, obviously if he's your fifth starter, you're pretty much fucked. Like it's not a good look. He's not nearly talented enough, but his rim protection is awesome. His transition defense is good. He's pretty switchable. I like some of his secondary playmaking. He can't really generate an advantage or shoot a shot to save his life right now, but everything else is perfectly fine. He's a competent ball handler, competent decision maker, decent basketball IQ, seems like a great dude. If Ochai Abaji is your 11th guy off the bench, I'm thrilled for you. If he's your 7th guy, you probably got some problems. Any thoughts on DJ Carton or Ramsey? Sure. I mean, I thought DJ Carton was great in his, what was it, 8 minutes? I mean, they were brilliant with him. But again, who was he facing, etc. Right? Jemias Ramsey, no strong thoughts, but I like how compact his game is and how concise it all is. Like he didn't have any turnovers. He was +9 in his 13 minutes, right? He had 9 points, 1 for 1 from three. The shot looked good. 3 for 5. He's really strong. Like he's kind of stocky. Again, I'm not sure he's an NBA player because he's a bit of a combo guard at about 6'2", and that's not usually a recipe for carving out some great role defensively. And, again, the Raptors have enough of those guys. But that being said, if he's in your G League program, great. Try to morph him into a point guard, see what you can do with it. I think DJ Carton's super bouncy and a very interesting young player. He's only 20, 23, 24, 24 years old. I think Carton could be, blossom into a third string point guard, perhaps for you. It could be one of those late development type of stories, right? I'm seeing growing. I mean, there were flashes last year as well of like competent play, and he's certainly an NBA athlete. Like the transition stuff is great. He's got a quick first step. So overall, that's impressive, right? But again, even if you played Garrett Temple tonight, you probably have some level of competence on the court. Again, I don't think people understand how bad some young players are. And yeah, if I could say one thing, I really would look to cut Bruno Fernando loose at some point. I know they probably won't. They like him. He's been with the team all summer. It would be kind of weird. But hey, Jeff Doughton was with y'all all summer and you cut him loose. So shit, it's a business. I haven't seen anything overly impressive. He's about 26 years old. I'm not really sure I see what the big deal is or what the upside is here of trying to develop a guy who's 26, who's proven to you for about 4 years that he's not really gonna pop at this point, right? Like, I don't really see it. Carbon Singer, are you still going to dinner? Yeah, I'm gonna go take an Uber right now. So yeah, and then we're gonna take an Uber back. But yeah, and yeah, I gotta tell you, like I was hoping for a win. You know, it just would feel nice after all the crash outs over the Washington thing, but it's preseason, man. It's preseason. I feel like I'm about to do an Allen Iverson thing. Like practice. We talking about practice? It's preseason. We talking about preseason? Preseason? Come on, man. I'm just kidding. All right, have a great one, guys. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and thank you as always for tuning in. And I hope my sniffling wasn't too bad. All right. Same situation with Gillespie. I'd almost forgotten. All right.